Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Boy, am I excited for this episode today. Before I introduce you to our guest, here's a quote just for this episode. Management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. Peter Drucker, our guest today, is a good friend. Go back many, many years. From the very beginning of his career, he's been learning the ins and outs of the health and fitness industry, the idiosyncrasies of how to build gym businesses, how to take something from nothing to something, or from something that's something to higher heights.
Little of
um,
both.
a little bit of both. For a few years, the CEO of World Gym, but beyond that, has been advising through Health Club Doctor countless facilities throughout the United States, internationally, on how to build everything really. Take something, like I said, nothing to something, and so much more. Good friend of the Culture Matters podcast, and I'm excited to learn from you today, brother. Jarrod Saracco. I almost forgot to introduce your name.
Yeah, hey, that's all right. I'll take it. Hey, thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it and honor to be here and nice to be a guest on this show. And kudos to you for the many episodes that you've already put out and the lives that you're changing by means of it, man. So it's an
Thanks.
honor to be here.
I'd like to know, for the entrepreneurs listening to this that have interest in getting out in the field and shaking hands, kissing babies, working with clients, what advice do you have on how to keep your energy high and how to go the extra mile service wise? Because you're running around, you're making things happen.
Yeah, well, I guess that's it, right? How to keep your energy high is one thing, and how to make things happen is another. I think it all comes down to making sure that you do a good job of keeping a great routine and a great schedule. I think that that's something that, according to the time of year it is right now, is always a good time to reset and reflect on, okay, how did I do with that? Last year, last couple of months, what do I need to change? And that's kind of the process I have right now. I probably could have did a better job of keeping my own routine better. Um, but when you love what you do, bringing the energy is not that hard, right? I am passionate about helping people achieve success. It could be entrepreneurs starting out their own fitness studio, a big box gym, a new investor. It could be, a fitness pro who's looking to take the next step. It could be an entrepreneur in any business that's just looking to, level up. You mentioned earlier a great quote about management and leadership. I've been doing a ton of that coaching this past year on the differences between management and leadership, conducting a lot of workshops on that. So, I love what I do. And so if you love what you do, I don't think you're going to have problem reaching down and finding the energy to do it. But to maintain it, you got to have a good routine and you got to take care of yourself.
How much would you say you travel? You travel a lot.
Last year was quite a bit. Last year was quite a bit. And I always tell people, man, if I'm not moving, I'm not making money. You know, I,
That's
I
good.
know people get all caught up on Zoom and all this kind of stuff. Obviously, that was a product of the pandemic, right? But people don't realize, I mean, for my business, I was doing Skype and Zoom and WebEx and all these Google Meets before this became a thing, right? Before it became normal every day. But it still does not replace face to face, belly to belly, hand to hand interaction. It just doesn't. I could teach a workshop on Zoom all day long to 500 people. It's awesome. But get me in the room with those same people, and the energy is so different, and the takeaway is so different. And so technology is great, but if I'm in person with somebody or a group of individuals, I feel like I have more of an impact for them, and I can really have
Hmm.
a better pulse on what I'm doing. So traveling is just part of the job, and um, has its perks, but for anybody who's traveled, it also knows it has a lot of headaches too. So it does wear you down.
The when you're going into a situation, of like what would you a big box, or it doesn't matter if it's big box or small, if it's a gym business
Mhm.
and you're going into the assessment phase, what does that look like?
So Yeah, depending on what a person or organization is bringing me on to do, right? Everybody's looking for answers, but it's hard to find or provide answers if you really don't know what the problem is. I always like to say, the problem isn't the problem, it's the way you look at the problem that's usually the problem, right? And it's so true because what you think may be the issue a lot of times really isn't the underlying issue. And that's my job. My job is to find out what the underlying issues really are. So I have an entire what I call a club profile and analysis report that we do. It has a proprietary impact rating system. We go in and do a complete evaluation. We interview all the staff. We look at the physical plant. We do secret shopper stuff, which is a lot of fun. So, you know, we'll call, we'll email, we'll write, we'll see what the sales process is like, the customer service. We do a whole audit online, everything. And then we build this report. And based upon that report, I go, okay, here's what we've identified as the issues. Here's what we can do to help you fix them. And this is how much time and this is the investment it's going to be to take care of that. But you'll be surprised at how many people think, oh, this is our problem. No, that's really not it. It's this over here. And they go, what? And when you show them and explain it to them, it really opens their eyes. So
Hmm.
again, the problem isn't the problem, it's the way you look at the problem. That's usually the problem.
What do you think the reason people can't see their own problems or some of the reasons?
You're in it too much. When you're in the day-to-day too much, again, levels, right? So you've got ownership levels, you got mid-manager levels. A lot of times owners are too much, and you've heard this phrase probably exhaustive over the years. They're too much in their business, not on their business. They're working too much in their business and not too much on their business. Sometimes you turn a blind eye to things. You let things slide to get ahead, or you let things slide because you feel like your competitor is ahead of you in a lot of ways. And before you know it, you ignore those problems and they become bigger and they cause other underlying issues. Culture matters, right? Is what we're here talking about. Culture is a big problem. And I don't think a lot of people give enough
Really?
attention to that in their organizations. Oh, yeah, huge, huge. And so that leads to a lot of issues. Take care of the people who take care of your customers, right? Culture starts at the top. And so
Hmm.
um, there's a lot of underlying issues people don't see. It's not because they don't want to, it's because they've trained themselves not to look.
Yeah, there's just so many memories flash up when you say that. Um,
You get PTSD.
absolutely, it drives me deeply to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. That's great.
Um, I've a curiosity around team gatherings, like
Okay.
huddles.
Mhm.
What utility, if any at all, do you see in like a team meeting or a huddle, or what's your view
I
on that?
think it's really important. Look, communication is the fundamental building block of all successful relationships, the personal, professional, uh, just in your own squad, right? Think about any sports team that's either out on the field or on the court or on the ice or whatever they're doing, any team related sport. Um, it requires great communication and everybody to be on the same page and everybody knowing what their job is and then executing and doing that job. And so staff meetings, team meetings, having huddles, just 15-minute huddles, I think really important depending on what your business is. I think there's a lot of people out there who have no idea how to run a good meeting. Um, they don't know that there should be a purpose to it. They don't understand, well, we're just going to meet to talk about a meeting that we're going to meet about in a week about a meeting. I mean, that's ridiculous. So, what is the purpose? What's it designed to do? Who needs to be there? Right? What are the objectives we're going to try? Do you have an agenda? What is it a set time or is you just kind of throwing it on the wall and hoping it sticks each week? Do people prioritize it? Do people look forward to it? There's a lot of ways to enhance the quality of a meeting, which in turn enhances the performance of your team and the people around you. And so, again, I think that's another thing that a lot of people don't look at is, man, great meetings can really inspire and motivate a team to go out and do some extraordinary things. So don't overlook the importance of great preparation and
Hmm.
have great meetings.
When you went into when you were leading in the field with your people, um, how did you connect with them when your position was, so much higher up than theirs?
Well, I always say this, nobody works for me, they work with me. Okay. And when I take that approach, I'm no better than they are. I'm just the guy who gets fired first. Okay. I have more responsibility. So at the end of the day, I'm going to be the one that has their head on the chopping block. But I'm never going to ask them to do something that I wouldn't do or haven't done. I'm never going to expect more of them than I expect of myself. And I make sure that they know that. I make sure that they see me do those daily tasks, that they know I'm not, I don't, just because I have a title or some letters after my name or whatever it is, that I'm too good to clean a toilet or answer a phone or, work the reception desk or sell a gym membership or help somebody on a piece of equipment. That's not who I am. And people are more inspired by what you do than what you say.
Hmm.
So, I always take that approach, in my leadership style, try and lead by example. There's a lot of people that say that lead by example, and then what do? They don't do crap. I make sure though that take time to get to know my team members on a deeper level, what makes them tick, hopes and dreams, greatest fears, ambitions, freaking favorite color, their dog's name, what makes them go every day. And as I develop those relationships with them, I understand how to get the most out of them. And then they want to perform for me because we've built that relationship where they don't want to let me down. And it becomes a very nice symbiotic relationship. Now, I will warn you that a lot of people talk about making their businesses like a family. Well, there's a problem with that. Okay. You want to have a team.
Hmm.
Teams, parts and people are interchanged quite often. They're traded, they're cut, they're let go, they retire, they're removed for performance issues. It's when you're a family, it's not as easy to do that. Look, I know in some families, right? You got to cut Aunt Josie out because she's crazy or whatever. It's not exactly the same.
Granny's out.
Yeah, Granny, she's out. She's
She's out.
voted off the island. Your tribe has spoken. But
Good point. It's
you
an
know,
interesting point.
there's a difference. So you gotta have that delineation. We're a family, okay, but that in itself brings a whole lot of other potential issues. So really try and avoid using the word family
And
with
you
my
see that
squads.
that leads to people uh, letting their bond get in the way of the tough
Yes.
conversations.
Yep. 100%.
So you've observed that
Oh, easy.
all over the world.
Oh, easy, easy. And
That's
and I'm not
cool.
gonna lie. I mean, early on as a young manager, striving to have, I had that problem where, I did such a good job of developing the relationships with my staff that it became more difficult to have the tougher conversations. And that was just a maturation process, right? As I went through that and had to let somebody go who I consider a really close friend, or, we got tight, we were like brothers for, I learned that you could you got to have that separation, and that's when it really started to click that, hey, this, you can't say family. Teams trade and cut people all the time and draft new players and bring new people in, and that's just part of the business. And if you talk to any professional athlete out there, they'll tell you it's a business.
Mm.
And there's a line. There's a line, and um, it's funny. People always ask you in an interview, right? Oh, what's your greatest weakness? Whatever. Well, one of your greatest strengths sometimes can be your greatest weakness. And for a long time, that was mine. I was really great at developing relationships with people. But at a certain point, it became very difficult to make certain decisions because the personal relationship was stronger than it needed to be. And so, you learn that over time, and it's definitely served me well and helps me coach other people
Mm.
not to make those same mistakes.
What are some ways you found it effective to have those tougher conversations?
Say that again.
Some ways you found it effective to have those tougher conversations with the team player.
Dude, you gotta be honest. At the end of the day, Jay, listen, I've always been a straight shooter with people. I try not to beat around the bush, but you know, I like to use the 3C sandwich, right? You always want to commend somebody first for what they're doing really well. Then you want to provide that corrective counsel. You could use the word discipline, corrective action, whatever you want to call it. So, commend, correct, and then always leave on a high note and always commend them. And a lot of times that works when you're providing feedback. Sometimes when you're having those really hard conversations, the commendation is tough to give because it's there, but you got to find a way to correct somebody in a manner that builds them up and not tears them down. Because if you're not letting that person go and you're still trying to extract the most you can from them, you can't devastate them. Jay, you suck at X, Y, and Z. Now, I tell people all the time, I don't have a problem if you tell me that, but tell me how to make it better. So I might say, Jay, customer service really is not your forte. Would you agree? Yeah, man, I really have a hard time with that. Like, it's really bad. Yeah, I can tell. Let's just call it what it is. But the purpose of this conversation is to figure out a way that we can improve, and I'm willing to put the time in to help you get there.
Hmm.
Right? If an employee or a teammate knows that you're invested in their success, you're not just going to tell them what's bad. You're going to come to them with a solution and a way to help them improve. And that's what good leaders do. They don't just tell people that they're bad. They got to find ways to identify the issue, figure out what it is and how to make it better, and be willing to put the time in to develop those people.
Why is that an important piece?
Well, think about it. How much time do you want to spend hiring and training a new person? It gets old after a while. Plus, nowadays it's harder and harder to find people,
Hmm.
right? So I think it said there was a stat out by Career Builder. I forget exactly. Don't quote me on it. I think it was to replace a bad employee, or when you hire a bad employee, it costs about $15,000 a year. A business about $15,000 a year. Um, when you lose a good employee, it costs about $30,000 a year to replace that person. Right. So I want to make sure that my hiring process is good, my onboarding process is good, and then I provide the support and training that they need to be successful. The more time I invest in my people, the less time I spend having to look for other people to replace them. And that's getting harder and harder to do. So always be developing your people. You want them to be successful because it makes you look good as a leader, a manager, an owner. Your business thrives. Eventually, if you got great people working under you, you don't have to work as hard because they're taking care of the business, whatever it may be. So yeah, I strongly believe investing in your people.
Hmm. Where are gym brands struggling now?
We want to be more specific with struggle. They struggle with a lot of things. Where do you want to go?
Uh, are people working out in physical facilities or
Oh
are they
man,
getting
yeah,
away
that's
from that?
booming again. That
Really?
post COVID, um, yeah, the gyms are packed. Like it takes January 2nd. Go into most gyms right now. It's 5 o'clock Eastern time. If you walked into most gyms on the East Coast, or at least this time of year, they're probably packed to the gills. And they were last year, 2019, before the pandemic hit. The fitness industry had one of the strongest years it's ever had, and 2020 was looking like it
Wow.
was going to just explode. Then we all know what happened, right? So it took a little time to come back. But 23, the numbers aren't in yet, obviously, because the year just ended. But from everything that you can see, trending wise, activity wise, what you're seeing the reports out there, gyms are packed once again, and it's great to see. And I think it's going to continue on that trend, and that's great. It's what we've wanted for a really, really long time.
Hmm. What are some of the drivers?
I think people are starting to realize that the gym is cool, right? Like I've been saying this for a while now. The gym almost has become the replacement for the nightclub. People would rather not go out on Friday night so that they can meet their friends at the gym on Saturday morning now.
Hmm.
It's become, look at social media. I mean, everybody's got a peach pick and a booty shot
Yeah.
and you know, all the athletic brands that have come out and the leggings companies and all these different things. it's just accentuated the need to get into the gym. The other thing is people can do cardio at home. They can go run, they can go jog, they got a Peloton, they got a bike, they got a road, they're doing paddleboard wherever they are in South Florida. But you can't get a strength train. You can get some dumbbells at home. Yes, you could do some, unless you got like a really good home gym, you can't get
Mm,
after it. The only place you can do that is at the gym. So now you're seeing more and more gyms go more and
mm.
more strength training heavy. Um, and I was one of the ones that kind of came out with the strength only gym model a couple years ago and really said, hey, this is going to be the wave of the future. And here we are. And
Wow.
strength training is where it's at. So people are packing gyms to hit the weight room.
It's still a viable business.
Oh, 100%. Now more than ever. I think a lot of people saw, oh my God, gyms are done, come the pandemic. No, I got news for you. They've been around since the early 60s. And if you look at all of the smaller boutiques, the Curves of the world, the different studios that have been out there, they have about it. They've got a 10 to 12 year window on them, maybe 15 years.
Mm.
Gyms have been around since the 60s. So what is it, 2024?
Yeah.
Think about how many years that is, right? Big box gyms haven't gone anywhere. They've changed and modified over time and they've kind of, you know, done their thing, but they've never gone away. And I don't see them going away anytime soon. At least the
What,
ones that keep up with what they need to keep up with.
how are the revenue channels changing, or are they?
It depends on the type of facility you are, right? You've got low cost players who just want to sell you a 10 and $20 membership and sell you 15, 20,000 memberships and never see you come in, right?
15 to 20,000, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean depending on their market. I've seen some low cost $10 gyms that have 14 to 16,000 members.
Ah,
You're Now, do they all go to the gym? Heck no. Do they want them to go to the gym? Heck no. They don't care
that's
about that.
so ironic.
Yeah, but you know, um,
Wow.
but then, you've got gyms who really put their time and money into offering a better product and a better service, and they only need 2 to 4,000 members. They offer other amenities and services. So it's really going to, pardon me, depend on the model, but revenues are up, like I said, in 2023. Most of my clients this year saw anywhere. I think my lowest client was around 13.5% growth year over year. I think the highest was like 26% year over
Wow.
year. So, it's going. It's definitely going.
Hmm. How are what are some of the ways people sabotage their gyms? They put in all the, you know, they put the kitty in there, and
Well,
they look
they
great. They
don't give it. Well, it's not.
they
Well,
have
that's part of the
ads.
problem. Yeah, yeah. But they sabotage it because they don't give enough attention to the right things. I think people underestimate how important design and aesthetic are to the demographic that you're trying to attract. I think people also underestimate the importance of choosing the right equipment. Everybody goes, look, the consumer doesn't know. Equipment's equipment. No, I will debate you all day long on that
Good point.
and twice on Sunday. You have a more educated consumer than ever before. They're looking for certain things. If I walk into a gym and I see, 90% one brand, I see a gym that got a great deal, not a gym that necessarily did what was best or facility that did what was best for their consumer, right? Because no one brand can really say that they've got it all when it comes down to it. And for me, depending on what the demographic target is, what we're trying to do, the atmosphere we're trying to create, what we're doing, I hand select for every single piece based on that, and it could be multiple brands. It could be 5, 6, 7 different brands. It could be, 3 different brands. Just really depends. So I think a lot of people underestimate design and aesthetic, the type of equipment that they have. And then also, understanding that this is a business. You're not just going to open a gym and build it and they will come. This isn't Field of Dreams, right? Like this isn't That's why I have a job. And so people go, oh, I don't need a consultant. Well, I'll see you in a year because most of you do. Most of you do. We could save you a lot of money and a lot of mistakes.
That's a powerful thought because if my guess would be people that enjoy fitness to some capacity are more likely to want to create their gym, as a symbolic representation of the libido. No, I'm just kidding.
True. My number one statement: do not build a gym for you and your buddies. Do not build a gym for you and your buddies. That's what happens. We hate the gyms around here. We're gonna go build this cool gym. We're gonna do it like this, and this is what it's gonna be in. That's great. Can the market sustain it and make money and make you money from it? Because if it can't, I don't care what you're doing, you and your buddies ain't gonna have a gym for long, right? So it's that's how a lot of people start. They hate the gym that they work at. They don't want to be a trainer anymore. They want to open their own thing. Oh, I hate the gym that I work out at. It doesn't have this equipment. It doesn't have that equipment. I'm going to build it. I work out at my buddies, and they want to go open a gym and they start throwing stuff into place. But the market demographic is wrong. It turns out they're a small percentage. Me and my 10 buddies want to work out. Great. We've got 10 members. Yeah. Well, you need 2,000 to make money. So, make a smart business decision. Don't make an egotistical one, or to your point, a one based off of libido.
How do you get so I'm working out at the gym, I'm a member. What leads me to get my friends to start working out? Is it
we bribe them? We bribe them. We bribe.
Okay, no, maybe
yeah, but to a degree, I guess. No, listen, there's incentives, right? Hey, you love the gym so much, bring your friends and family. If they decide to join, we're going to give you some sort of perk, right? Whether it's a month on your membership, a shirt. It's amazing what people do for a cool t-shirt. Like, if you're out there listening and you're a business, I don't care if you're a gym business, whatever. If you have a cool t-shirt, not some just cheap white t-shirt with your little logo on it, but like something good, people will do a lot of crazy stuff for a good t-shirt, and they'll wear it forever. But yeah, incentives to get referrals and people to join. Here's the thing about it, and we spent a lot of time on this, over the last couple of years with my businesses and my clients. Marketing has changed so much, right? As consumers, we are inundated with the messaging of how awesome somebody's business is. We're the best, it's like a DJ Khaled. We the best, baby. Right? It's like, man, I don't want to hear from you about how awesome you are. I want to hear from people I know and trust how awesome you are. You have to tell me you're great. You have to tell me you're the best, because you're in business. You're trying to get my business. But if my neighbors, Susie and Joey and Tommy and Bobby and Jay, go to the gym and I see them on a social media post going, I love this place. It's the greatest place ever. Or we're in a conversation, say, man, you look really good. What do you want? Hey, I go to XYZ gym down the street. You should go too. That means more to me. That's why the power of a Google review is so important, right? A Facebook review. Back in the day, this is just aging me a little bit, but back in the day, they said when you would you'd have a bad experience, a customer would have a bad experience, and they would tell up to 11 people verbally about a bad experience. When they had a good experience, they told maximum of 2 people. Now that just goes to show how much people love to tell their horror stories. Well, nowadays, all it takes is somebody to go on a keyboard and they're talking to 11 million people, right? And it's a big difference. So the power of a testimonial or a rating or a review cannot be underestimated.
Or criticism.
Exactly. You got to be able to capitalize on it. So for me, I'm going to collect testimonials. Jay, invite your friends and family. Tell them how great we are.
You just helped me. I just realized, man, it would be good for me to ask the guests of this show to leave a review of this show.
Why not?
I never thought about it.
Why not?
The only reviews I have of this show are from a couple guests, like Andrew Berman, Jeremy Adams, like,
and even your listeners, for those listening,
I've
like,
never
drop
asked
a
once.
comment. Hey, what did you think of this episode, guys? Drop a comment. Like you do the whole thing. Drop a comment. Tell us what you
I
think.
should ask for a review at the
You
end.
should. You should. Hey, rate this
Never
rate
once did
this
I do.
episode on a 1 to 10 scale. Tell us what you thought.
Starting with
Make sure you
8.
give this one a 10. I'm just saying because it's going to happen.
Man,
But
it's really I'm glad this is recording and it's saved because that's a big call to action for me right now.
yeah.
Say it at the end of the episode and ask people because how else is it going to grow?
Well, and that's the other thing. Hey guys, we've been doing this episode. We did 270 episodes last year. What did you think? Did you find value? On a 1 to 10, did you find value? Great, whatever. Would you recommend this podcast to somebody else in business? That's what do they call it? NPS, right? Net Promoter Score. How many
Yeah.
people will you tell to listen to the Culture of Matter podcast at the end of the day? Right? Did you find value in it? Hey, if you didn't, tell me what would make you find valuable. What kind of guests, what kind of content, what do you want to hear so that we can make this better for you next year, and help you tune in, and so that you will tell your friends and families and colleagues and other people, or you will make this
Yeah,
part
that
of
gives me
your
another great
professional
idea. Like
development.
even just like a quarterly or an episode every once in a while, uh, recapping things I
Yeah,
learned and asking for help with the
yeah.
show. Plugging that. I don't know. I'm just thinking
You can
out.
do a best of every quarter, half a year. Hey, this is the best of the first half of 2024, and little snippets and great quotes and little pieces of information that people found helpful to kind of condense that in.
Love it. So I am curious. What are you reading?
Ha! See, I told you I was going to be prepared for that.
Man.
So my friend gave me this a while ago, and I just haven't had the chance to do it. I've been dying to do it. His name is Pete Moore. He runs Halo Talks Academy.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
and that's the if you're not familiar with Halo Talks, it's a great, great podcast, and it's in the health and fitness segment. But it's called Time to Win Again: 52 Takeaways from Team Sports to Ensure Your Business Success. So I'll hold that up again for you. Pete
Huh.
Moore, great little read. Looking forward to about 120 pages or so. But Pete does a lot in our sector. Does some Health Club Academy stuff. Got a great podcast as well. But yeah, I've really been looking forward to reading this, and I said, you know what, it's going to be the first one I do in 2024. So
That's awesome.
that's where I'm at right now. I'm not putting my mind on any other ones until I get this one done. So don't ask what's next, because this is it.
People listen, let's say they listen to this at the end of 24. What can they say about you? That how you showed up in 24.
Man, listen, I always bring it. And what I tell people is, if you're not at that level, then what are you doing with yourself? And I mean that in a very respectful way. But you got all these guys out there yelling and screaming motivation, and you got to make 400K a year, you got to do this, you got to do that. No, I don't care what it is that you do. Are you a housewife? Are you a father at home? Are you in business for yourself? Do you work for somebody else? Are you passionate about a hobby? I don't care what it is. Do you bring it every day? Number one. Number two, do you love what you do? If not, start to develop a plan to find a way to do what you love to do and make money doing it. Right. And then the last thing I would tell people is, don't screw people, right? Be a good person and make sure whatever you do, you value the relationships that come your way because of it. So I would say that. So if you watch this to the end of 24, just know that Jarrod was a one-man wrecking crew, and he set out to change the world one gym at a time.
And I'm gonna ask,
Yeah.
if anyone's listening to this, how can they follow you or get in contact with you if they want to retain your service, to help them
Yeah,
with
for
their
sure. And
fitness
it's
facility?
more than just, the fitness industry. If I've expanded to, expanded my services to speak at other industries and events and things. So I do a lot of that public speaking, leadership, business, entrepreneurial stuff as
Awesome.
well. My website is healthclubdoctor.com. And doctor is spelled out. So healthclubdoctor.com. You can find me on LinkedIn and all the other social media channels as well. Jarrod, Jarrod. Saracco. So feel free to hit me up at any point, and I'm usually pretty responsive and look forward to having those conversations.
In closing, in the spirit of our episode and advice and being
Yes.
open to mentorship and advisory, I'm asking all of you listeners, please share this with a friend and leave a
Very
review.
nice.
Leave a
Leave it,
review.
drop it in the
Please,
comments below. Let us
please.
know. Give us 5 stars, whatever the rating
We're
is.
begging for a review and share with a friend so we can lead by example.
And who
Thank
knows, maybe in the future there'll even be a cool Culture Matters podcast t-shirt. You never know.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah. All right.
And we will see you next time at the
You
Culture
got it,
Matters.
guys. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate you having me.